clarification.
And then I've asked Kathleen to address the application issue.
The application process, if just regarding the special list, an application can be reviewed promptly, immediately, depending upon what the nature of the application is. It follows the same process as for the landmark designation. There is no requirement or delay for 6 months to review that application. The Commission reviews it when they receive it. If the Commission reviews an application and disapproves it because it doesn't meet the guidelines, then the Housing Commissioner postpones issuing a permit for 6 months. But applications are reviewed in a timely manner, whether it's a special list building or a landmark building or a building that is a historic district.
Thanks. Thank you. Mr. Can?
Can I have one more clarification? It's sort of mixing and matching conversations, but you know, if Mr. Kiefaber or any future owner of this property or user of this property wants to apply for tax credits, historic tax credits, whether it's city, state, or federal, they too would be bound by what they do to the interior. So that it's not only this discussion we're having here, but tax credits themselves on any of those levels would involve a similar, perhaps, consideration of any changes to the interior. So if one is going to pursue that, they accept the fact that interior decisions are part of that process, not just the exterior.
My concern is that because it's part of this proposal, is that it's scaring off a potential buyer that could have the best interest.
But if they were going to use tax credits, not. If they were going to use tax credits. Don't know that, but that's what the law says. We don't have control over that.
Can I add something to that discussion?
Very brief, and you need to come to the podium, Mr. Kiefaber. So you can do that now, or you can wait till I finish testimony.
Just want to clarify my understanding. The historic tax credit program is an established program that has been operating for many years, involved some of the aspects of it. I'm aware of it and not unaware of others, but it is something where there's a give and take, and it is not, I think those folks that have invested in historic buildings, some of which invest specifically because of the historic tax credit program. Bill Streeter has made a career with it. Know that what the ramifications of that process are. This is an unknown process. Kathleen, you mentioned that exactly how the permit applications are reviewed. Well, this will be reviewed. This is completely unproven, and I think the inclusion of the 6-month issue, this correspondence that was sent to me that I had to share with these prospective investors and purchasers, was really unfortunate. Not only the timing of it, but the wording of it, because it does reserve the right for up to 6 months. And you know, all private sector people are very concerned about bureaucratic issues. That's just the way our system works.
Thank you. Mr. Hopkins.
Hi, good afternoon. John Hopkins, Director of Baltimore Heritage. And I'm here to testify in support of CHAP and its initiative for the interior landmark designation of the Senator Theater. I'd just like to share 2 things from our Board of Directors meeting last night on this topic that I hope can maybe help in the discussion today. The first one concerns the maybe unique nature of an interior landmark, at least this first one that the Commission is considering, and particularly the fine-grained nature of it. The list that Eddie shared of what would be covered by the landmark designation and what would not be covered. That was a focus of the discussion that we had, and again, we're a group of citizens. We don't have regulatory authority, and we're certainly not the stewards of the museum, as the Kiefaber family has been. But the discussion at our board last night was that the fine-grained nature of what would be covered and what would not be covered was particularly helpful in this situation because first that we felt comfortable that what the historic elements that really do define the Senator, in fact, are the elements that are covered, proposed to be covered through the staff report that we just saw. So that was one comfort level. The second was sort of on the flip side of that coin, and we had a large discussion over how is best to support this. And at some future point, there may be a proposal that requires some changes that would go against these one or more of the particular criteria set out. And we felt that by laying those out up front in this landmark proposal, that provided a way for CHAP in its review of proposals for landmark buildings through its hardship procedures or otherwise, to be able to, with a pretty fine brush, allow proposals to go forward that would be the best to save the Senator next month, next year, next 50 years, but then also be able to retain those important historic characteristics. I just wanted to share that from our discussion last night. The final point was we had to some of our members maybe thought that there was some value in taking a look at what was behind the layers of paint on the ceiling, and I'm sure that there are many members of the audience that know what's up there more than I do. But before anything, the ceiling is not covered in this landmark proposal. But if there was a way to do some exploration up there, if indeed the time comes that there's going to be a change to that ceiling, there might be some value in an original Art Deco motif that could be at least documented or possibly even preserved with the new one. With that, that's the end of my testimony. I will say this is the very first interior landmark was for us, as a group of members of the public, was a very thoughtful discussion, and I know, interestingly, one that everybody wants to see the Senator and its interior saved, and it's just a matter of what way is best to do this. We've had to rely on Mr. Kiefaber and his family for the last 70 years to do that, and our position is met with the most sincere thought that this is the best way to ensure that the Senator survives for the next 70 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a quick correction to that?
I'm going to ask that, see if there's anybody else that has any testimony time. I'll give you one more opportunity to respond. Is there anybody else here that would like to testify on the Senator Theater interior specialist or landmark designation? Okay, Tom. Mr. Kiefaber.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to comment on John's testimony. First of all, I regret that I did not have an opportunity to interact with him in his board, although I made attempts to do so, to have some input, to discuss some of the things prior to their issuing an approval of this, issues that I raised earlier here in some detail. I think that's unfortunate. I also want to point out that John's either slip of the tongue or misunderstanding that my family has been operating a museum is exactly diametrically opposed to my point about all of this, which is, and I think if you look at the interviews that I've given over the years, I can't tell you how many times I've quoted, I do not want to or will not operate a museum. The Senator is a dynamic, fluid, daily operated entertainment facility in an industry that is changing underneath our feet. And I think to think of it or approach it or in any way look upon it as some sort of a museum that's meant to be put under glass is not an appropriate way to look at the Senator Theater's past, present, and its future. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, any further questions or comments from the Commission? Mr. Murphy.